Hello, welcome to the Sunshine Farm. I'm Jen, and today I'm going to take you on the first garden tour of the season. This is our third year with this garden. We have beds where we use the no-dig method, beds with Ruth Stout method. We have a Back to Eden bed that we have struggled with, that we are now transitioning over to a food forest, which I'm really excited to show you. We have flower gardens that are new this year. Lots to show you guys. Oh, and don't let me forget, we also have a Hugelkultur bed, which I'm obsessed with. I want to show you all of it. So let's get started. I want to show you all the beautiful things we're growing in our garden. TJ's fly sheet has unicorns all over it, if you can see that. I just need to get this one last zucchini planted. I'm gonna go put it in the Hugelkultur bed. Let's see. I'll put you right here. It's May 27th, and it's really important for us to get this garden tour recorded today before the sun goes down, because tonight we're going to be covering all of our tomatoes and peppers and eggplant, because we're actually going to be getting some cold weather this weekend. Very cold, unseasonably cold. So I wanted to show you guys the garden before all of that. The lighting is beautiful right now. I wanted to wait until it was soft and golden hour before starting this tour, and it's just perfect. So as you can see behind me, this bed right here, this is our no-dig bed. We turned this into a no-dig bed in the fall of last year. And this spring is the first time we've planted in it in the spring as a no-dig bed. So it is full and abundant. It's been really wonderful to plant in. So let's show you what we have going on in here. First off, I will say pretty much everything in here is interplanted. So we have a lot of things planted around each other. So we've got some celery in the corner, some purple cabbage. We have a couple peppers in the front, some Tabasco peppers, bok choy, and some basil, cilantro over there in the edge. And then I just planted a row of radishes, which you can see just germinated. Some more basil, more cabbage. And then we have kohlrabi in here, which is starting to form its roots. So we have purple kohlrabi, and then we have, your standard green kohlrabi. We also have calendula that self-seeded itself all over the place. And here you can see a lot of abundance. I planted some mesclun mix, which is a blend of mustard greens. This is my beautiful, beautiful spinach. The first time I've ever successfully grown spinach, and it's just gorgeous spinach. I've got romaine, which we've been snacking on, and we actually had some for dinner tonight. And then a few plants of Swiss chard. We got some basil in here. Lots of tomatoes coming up that I need to weed, but I'm gonna let this one volunteer grow. Hi, basil. Well, we have basil, and then we have this basil. Ow! Double basil. In here, these are fava beans. And you can see they're getting their lovely blossoms on right now. I love fava beans. You have to plant them really early. I planted them as soon as I could get into the soil, as soon as it wasn't frozen. And then we have brassicas in here. So this is cauliflower. We have broccoli. And then we have our Brussels sprouts back there. And these guys are looking so beautiful. This is some more garlic that we just accidentally left in the ground, and I just let it be. Okay, over here, onions. Lots and lots of onions. Then we just got some different varieties of kale. I planted a lot of varieties. A scarlet kale, dinosaur kale, curly kale, and a red Russian kale. Okay, so let's go over to the back of this bed, and I'll show you what we have in there. Whew. I'm gonna walk around the other way. It really is beautiful out. I'm really appreciative that I get one beautiful evening before we have lows in the low 40s. So in this section of the bed behind me, we have peppers and corn that's coming up. So let me show you what we have going on over there. So these are the bulk of my peppers. I wanted to plant them in the no-dig bed because the no-dig bed has compost and it's dark. And I figured this area would warm up as well as stay nice and dry for peppers. And peppers really don't like to be super wet. And the soil here was pretty sandy compared to other areas of our garden. So that's why I planted all of these beautiful peppers. I also came in here, which you saw at the beginning of this video, and planted cucumbers. My plan is either use that trellising wire right there or to use another trellis we have and to put it up against that fence. So they're all labeled, but I really can't read the labels from here. I know we have like Sugar Rush Peach right in there. These are one that I'm really looking forward to, which is the Pippin's Golden Honey Peppers. They're a really pretty color. They're like, and then over here, I planted corn and the germination was awesome. This was actually my own saved corn. I believe this is popping corn, but I can't remember. I planted popping corn and glass gem corn and the germination was great. And that was for my saved seed. And then this is the other one of them. And the germination is also great. You can see in here, corn's just coming up everywhere. So one is popping, one is glass gem. And then over here, this is sweet corn. And I just didn't have as much of it and the germination isn't quite as good. And this was the corn that I did not save myself. So that's how our no dig bed is going. Really, I am loving this method. I'm a total no dig believer. If you want to learn more about no dig, I suggest heading on over to Charles Dowding YouTube channel and learning what you can from there. You do need more water than with mulch, but the problem we have with the mulch is that we have just some major slug issues. And right now we don't have ducks. I do want to rescue some ducks in the next year, so stay tuned for that. You can see the comparison. Obviously this is super abundant right now and this is just planted, but soon they'll both be super full. Speaking of this garden, let's talk about our tomatoes. We've got more peppers, tomatoes, and then we can talk about the trellises that I just planted yesterday. See, this year it looks a little different in our garden because we have all these mini tunnels. These are called low tunnels. But let's take a peek in one of these low tunnels and I'll show you what I have going on. I did empty space right here where I planted some zucchini. Okay, so you can see the zucchini that I just planted in there. And there's the garlic. It is so lovely. Look at that. So beautiful. Basil is following me everywhere. If you want a shadow to follow you around while you're in the garden, look no further. Just get some barn cats. But they do end up being a little annoying. Fair warning. So if you've been following me over the past year, you may have heard about my slug issues last year. Early garden tours last year, I talked all about what I called Slugmageddon, where every single thing I direct sowed was eaten by slugs. And you know, ducks is something that we really want to bring in. I would love to kind of resort to the natural management of them by having ducks in our garden, but we're not ready for them yet. So we just need a little bit more time to get set up. Instead of planting them all just in the ground, I decided to come up with a method that I think is pretty genius, where I cut out the bottom of little seed starting pots and I put them around the plant to deter slugs. So as you can see, here is the little squash transplants, and then on this trellis I did every other squash transplant with the pot around it to do a little experiment and see what happens. What you can see is so far, while this one is perfectly healthy, this one has had a little slug snacking on the leaves. And if we go over to this side, I did the same thing. I covered every other because I didn't cut up enough pots. And you can see what happened. We had our first casualty right there. That was slug eaten. But the others are okay. So I definitely think the pots help. So on some trellises we have butternut on one side and Sibley squash on the other. On some trellises I have delicata on one side and Jarradale on the other. So over here we have peppers. We have Hungarian wax pepper here and then jalapeno pepper. So we got some hot peppers and then we have all of our tomatoes. Guys, guess what? Our first pea blossom, and it's so beautiful. Wow, look at that. That is so lovely. So these peas are doing really well. We haven't had any flowers yet until just now, and now they're finally starting to flower. And I've got them on this side, but they did not germinate as well on this side, which is fine. Planted cucamelons at the base here. My goal is, as the peas grow and eventually die off, the cucamelons will kind of fill in the spaces. But as you can see, slugs ate them. Hopefully we'll end up with cucamelons. I don't know, guys. I have a really hard time growing cucamelons. The slugs eat them or they never really grow. She'll literally just sit anywhere in the garden. Such a little garden troll. As the fertility of our soil has improved, our tomatoes have just been so productive. And because of that, we've realized more and more that we don't need as many tomato plants. 2 years ago, I planted 100 plants, and last year I planted 60 plants, and we had more production out of 60 plants than we ever did out of the 100 plants the year before, just because our soil fertility was so much better. So this year I decided 60 plants was actually too much for us last year. We ended up giving away a lot of tomatoes, and we processed so many, and we just had more than we needed. So I decided to only plant 50 plants this year. But the peppers are looking really good. Tomatoes are looking really good. And then I have some younger broccoli. This is Bellstar variety from Johnny Seeds. I'm obsessed with it. And I have some younger cauliflower. This is my second sowing. I have 3 tomatoes over here. I love being able to walk on my... They're not real happy with the cold day we're having, but they'll bounce back as soon as it warms up. And then check out this guy and that guy. Do you want to be in this, Malachi? This is Malachi. He is my baby boy. Our little baby boy, 6 months old. I love you.
Such a sweet face.
I know. Ow! So if you've been following me for a while, you may have heard about my artichoke, my love for growing artichokes. So the first year of our no-till garden was 2 years ago. I planted artichokes. Right in the spot right here, I planted 3 artichokes. And last year in early, probably June, we had so many artichokes. Now we had a moderate winter. It wasn't crazy, but we did have some cold temps, you know, down into the teens, single digits at least a couple times. And so I was thinking it's not gonna come back. But to my surprise, even though it looked completely dead, it came back. And one day while we were outside, I saw a little glimpse of it, and it was just like the most giddy I've been in a while. Some nasturtium out in the front here, some yarrow, and then some little itty bitty tomatoes. I need to tell you about these 3 planters, which are really fun. So this is called pepino. It is a fruit. It is a perennial in a lot of places, but not here. So I planted it in this grow bag because I'm going to be bringing it in the winter and taking care of it indoors so that it stays a perennial. And I planted some little baby rosemary on the outside and just this tiny tomato just cause I thought it would be fun. In this grow bag right here, we just have 3 young goji berries. So I started these guys from seed, and I'm just letting them grow up in here, and then once they get big enough, I'll probably transplant them out into the food forest. This guy is really fun. Pink variegated lemon is the variety. So you can see the leaves are really beautiful. This is a lemon tree, and we're going to be bringing this indoors in the winter as well. And I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping we get lemons in the next few years. We are running out of time because we need to get this garden covered before nighttime, guys. It's going to be cold. This bed right here, I'm not going to focus on long because really we just have garlic in these low tunnels. Between the garlic, I planted potatoes. So we've got these 3 peony bushes. These 2 were 1 bush that I divided into 2. And then this is like a really young bush that I planted last year, but it just needs some more time to get established. Garlic, potatoes, garlic, potatoes, garlic, potatoes. This was beans last year, and I never actually fully cleaned it off, so you can see tons of bean pods. So I actually just was breaking the pods and just putting these all in the soil below. So this is going to be a bean trellis for a 2nd year in a row. Over here, this is all asparagus that I planted this year. So we're going to have a little asparagus patch. And this is the beginning of the start of our food forest. So let me take you down this bed, which I am loving. Before I show you our food forest, the start of it, I want to let you know that this is actually mostly plants that we moved from our original food forest, which was a total failure. And we're hoping that by moving them to this section and by taking care of them a lot better, we can help revive them. But I really don't think all of these fruit trees are going to survive. So I'm counting on ordering more fruit trees in the fall. But some of these things like the blueberries and the raspberries and the flowers, like they'll be fine. It's really just the 3 fruit trees, and we're not so sure if they're gonna pull through. Raspberries that somebody dug up and we gladly took. This is a cherry tree. It is a Stella sweet cherry. As you can see, it is not doing well. It just has 1 branching area. So I'm gonna let it just see if it can rebuild itself and recover this year. But I don't have a lot of hope for it. But it does have this one nice looking branch. So we'll see what happens. Throughout this whole bed, I also planted comfrey. It's Bocking 14 comfrey, so it won't spread like crazy. Now I believe this is milkweed. It could be pokeweed though. They look so similar, but I do think that this is milkweed. So this actually just came up as a weed, so I'm gonna let it. We have 3 high bush blueberries. These were moved from our original food forest and are looking so much better already than they did a couple months ago. This one even has some blueberry blossoms on it, so we should get a few blueberries this year. I did amend the soil with peat moss, and they have blueberry fertilizer, so the soil is nice and acidic for them. Over here, this is a plum tree. This guy was looking so rough, had barely any leaves, and then of course we had either gypsy moth larvae or tent caterpillars. I'm not sure which one came in and started eating the leaves. There's thyme right there. Planted some lupin, which is a perennial flower in this area. This is a gummy berry that we moved, and I'm hoping it does a lot better there. Foxglove, which is in bloom. So beautiful. Okay, so here we have a squash on this trellis. I have horseradish there and some flowers. Yarrow, which is a beautiful perennial flower. Rhubarb, which I just planted this year, so it's probably not gonna look great for this got like badly burned, but that leaf looks good, and we've got some new growth. It probably won't look real great for a couple years. There's some more lupin. We've got some oregano, echinacea, comfrey coming up, butterfly bush, some onions that I'm just letting flower. And this is our very, very, very sad peach tree. This is kind of like a last-ditch effort to save the peach tree. I mean, look at this thing. That's it, guys. We'll see what happens. I am just letting it have one last year to see if it does anything. Okay, so this area is all now one bed. It used to be 2. That's my perennial herb and tea garden. We're gonna put a little table and chairs that I actually already have in the area there. It's gonna be like a little garden patio. And look at this tree. Do you see how all the leaves are just like eaten? It's pretty gross. All of that is from this gypsy moth. Look at all of those. They're everywhere. If we can make it through our tangled mess of strawberries and weeds. There are strawberries all in here. Over here I have the rest of my tomatoes. I have carrots that I sowed the other day. I need to come in and water here. And then I have 2 berms of beans. One is soybeans and one is bush beans. Oh, and then here is more potatoes, and in the back is more potatoes. I talked about that in the potato planting video I put out. The goal is to recover this entire area. This was our original garden and it was all tilled, and that's why it's such a mess. We clearly do better with no-till methods, as can be seen when you compare that garden, which is doing so much better, and this just weedy mess. And if you've been hanging out here for a while, you also know that I'm obsessed with Hugelkultur. So let's head over to the Hugelkultur bed. I'll show you what we're doing there. And again, we have to be quick, guys, because I need to cover like the whole garden tonight. So let's look at the Hugelkultur bed. We've got some tomatoes. We have kale, lots of different kinds of kale. There's like all 4 different kinds that I planted all next to each other. A lot of calendula seeded itself. And then I didn't mark anything, but I think I planted cucumbers here. 3 blueberry bushes, which I newly planted. A lot of different things, flowers like cosmos. I have some echinacea. I have some more tomatoes. Different herbs like Thai basil and large leaf basil. I think this is parsley. And a little ground cherry plant. Lupin. This lupin bush is looking way better than the others. Just a testament to how well this Hugelkultur bed does. So there's my little elderberry tree, my second one. So cute. Lemongrass, stevia, rosemary, some California poppies, and more Egyptian walking onions. These things are so cool. There's one in the middle too. I just love them. I think they're so cool. So pretty in this bed, guys. I love it. Let's head on over to the cut flower garden. I love the different spots that our garden's planted in. It's kind of like spread out throughout the property, which I think is really fun. But these hardy kiwi are looking lovely. I really hope that they bloom and blossom this year. Look how full they are already. It's like not even June yet, and they're just completely filling up this trellis. So far, no blossoms. We'll see what happens. Yellow and raspberries. We have marigold, cosmos, zinnias, strawflower, eucalyptus, but these are all dahlias in here. Dahlias that came back, surprisingly, a couple of them. Zinnias, cosmos, and gladiolas. And this is one of my herb beds. I just got some sage that I didn't realize how much it spread. It's about to flower. It's really pretty. And chives. I just love this spot right here. It's like hardy kiwi, the chives, raspberries. It's one of my favorite spots. I think this is my favorite spot in the entire property. Do you guys have your favorite spot in your property or your home or your yard or your garden? This is mine. This used to look so different, you guys. It was a red barn, none of the chicken coops, none of the goat pens, none of the garden, just grass. Now it's become just such this lovely little spot. I love it. Oh, and then this area is another flower garden. So there's slugs in here too. I bet there are. Yeah, there are slugs in here. What the heck, guys? They're everywhere. They just eat all the things I plant. Like, those are all sunflowers. And look, that one's been nibbled on. That one's been nibbled on. That one's been nibbled on. That one's been completely eaten. You can see a snail right there. The second year, I feel like I'm just completely defeated by slugs. I just can't win with the slugs. So I planted sunflowers there, there, and there. And then I've got some rudbeckia and amaranth, as well as zinnias in the front. Okay, friends, thank you for joining me on this inaugural garden tour. I really hope our garden looks even more lush and beautiful on the next one. It's gonna be cold this weekend, and I'm really worried for my plants. I mean, it's gonna be like it's like 41 degrees, and it's almost June. That's so cold. Next time, I'll show you some of my rose bushes, which are gonna be in bloom. We have more perennial flowers and other things that I want to show you, but that's it for now. Thank you for being here, and see you guys next time. Bye, friends. What do you think of the garden, Malachi?
Hi, boo-boo.
Ow!